Do you think that Geno Suarez could be a fit for a team like the Tigers? If not, we talked a lot just now about a potential NL Central battle with the Cubs and Brewers going after a bat like that. What are you hearing?
Yeah, I mean, let's go through it. The Yankees, the Mets, Mark Vientos hasn't been very good. The Brewers, the Cubs, the Mariners. Yes, Tigers, absolutely. He's a fit everywhere. He's a great clubhouse guy. He continues to hit home runs, home, road, doesn't matter, against all sorts of pitching. I think there's going to be a nice little battle for his services, especially for the teams that are a little bit offensively depressed, which I wouldn't necessarily include the Cubs in that category. The Brewers score runs, they don't really slug as much. But any of these teams could use him. I mean, it's going to come down to what are you offering Mike Hazen? If I'm him, I have a for sale sign on, and I'm taking offers for a guy like Suarez. It's a rare year where a third baseman slash DH, whatever you want to call him, is available or needed by so many teams. So I think he's a fit in all those cities and could really help some of those teams that are having some struggles offensively.
Let's just sit at third base in the Central, because
Yeah.
all we hear from the Central is, oh, we don't have a lot of money, we don't have this. Well, Eugenio Suarez isn't really going to cost a lot. I get it. $5 million for the rest of the season is technically prorated a lot for what's going around in the Central. The one team that has money, the Cubs, really don't spend that much money. Is Ryan McMahon somebody that is able to be sent to any of the NL Central third baseman needed clubs? Because he plays defense. He's not just a rental, which small market teams want, but he's also costs money, which small market teams are saying, no, we don't want to spend money.
No, I kind of think he's the consolation prize to Suarez. Any of the teams that don't get him, McMahon would be a fit. I mean, look, I think Suarez is great, but for a rental, Hazen's going to probably ask for a lot. May not end up getting a lot, but he's going to ask for a lot. Where McMahon's not going to cost you a lot no matter what. For some reason, he's not hitting even in Colorado, which is strange. But he is a plus defender. Maybe you put him in a better lineup. For example, with the Chicago Cubs, you could split time as a lefty in the box with Matt Shaw, who's a righty. It could work out pretty well. He's facing kind of the guys they want him to face, and he certainly wouldn't be a middle of the order guy. So change of scenery certainly makes sense to me for Ryan McMahon if you're trying to buy, some stock on him, thinking, well, he didn't have a great season in Colorado. Well, maybe a change will do him good. So I think Suarez is the prize and McMahon is the consolation prize.
I think you hit that perfectly. Another guy I've been thinking about, Seth Lugo, played with him with the Mets, now with the Royals. He's got one more year with a player option after this year. He is an appetizing starter. He can actually relieve. I'm not saying he will, but he can actually relieve too as well if needed. Talk to me about what people are talking about him, and could you see him go somewhere else?
Yeah, I could. Stud. Pro's pro. I mean, what are the adjectives you can use that describe him in a positive light? Tell me, because that's what he is. I was at Wrigley Field yesterday. This was a hitter's day. Wind blowing out, 95 degrees out there. He gets through 6, keeps the ball in the park. His counterpart, Colin Ray, gave up 3 2-run home runs. And then the Royals hit another 2-run home run against the Cubs bullpen. So it was that kind of a day for hitters, except not for Cub hitters. So, I mean, this guy can get it done. He's a playoff caliber pitcher. I think that the line there in the American League is Cleveland, where they are in the wild card race. They've played themselves into it over the last few weeks, even after that long losing streak. I don't know if Kansas City's done enough. We've got a few more days here, so we'll see. But I'll tell you what, he was a wily veteran, Seth Lugo, in the locker room afterwards. I was trying to get it out of him, and he's just kept on saying, I want to stay here. I want to win here. Vinny Pasquantino was looking over and pointing at his locker. I want that guy in royal blue next week. I want him in royal blue. But he did say it's up to us. They've got to get to 500 or better by next week, I think, for JJ to think that way. But this guy is going to be a free agent more than likely. I just feel like you could get something for him. So I think he's more likely gone than not.
We saw so many teams making the AL Central, making the playoffs last year from the AL Central. Is it a stronger Central division this year? meaning, hey, you know what, we definitely need to go get more players? Or is it just all top heavy and there's only one really good team who struggled recently in the Tigers, and so the rest of the division has just kind of been mid?
Yeah, I think it's that. I think the rest of the division has been mid. It's kind of crazy how I'm based in Chicago. I see the Cubs every day. They remind me of an old school American League lineup, and some of those AL Central teams remind me of an old school NL lineup where there's some holes at the bottom of the lineup. I think if Cleveland at times has that, Kansas City certainly has that at times. Twins a little bit more rounded when they're healthy, but the calculus has changed in that division. Last year, on August 1st, yeah, the Guardians had a decent lead right after the trade deadline, but that got whittled down to 3 games on September 1st, meaning the division was wide open in a sense, as well as the wild card. Well, now you got to kiss the division goodbye despite the Tigers slide here and the Guardians kind of getting a little bit closer. So less chance to make the postseason if you're in the AL Central. For me, I could see the Guardians doing a little buy and sell and staying in contention. And maybe even Kansas City doing that. I mean, their manager yesterday was trying to make that case. Sometimes you subtract and you play better. Sometimes you add and play worse. Sometimes you stay still and get hot. You just don't know. But in general, I think Minnesota and Kansas City need to be thinking more about next year, and that means trading. I mean, the Twins could be the trade darlings, right? Trade deadline darlings. They've got expiring contracts. They've got pitchers under team control teams would want. So I think Minnesota is going to be one of the more interesting teams in my mind.
I was hoping you were going to say Cleveland. To me, I hate the fact that they're winning here moving into the deadline and the Tigers are sliding. I feel like it's kind of fool's gold. If the slide reverses, and to me it's more of like a below 500 team with the Guardians, is there a chance we see a big move because of money, or a big move from Cleveland, or a big move because of, hey, we can rebuild like we always have and be competitive again next year? When I talk about that, I'm talking about a Stephen Kwan, Emmanuel Clase, that kind of like monstrous move from the Guardians.
Yeah, I think we could, and they could easily make that case of we did this, but we think we could still compete. Now, that takes a strong, mentally tough manager to get that message through. We saw this in Milwaukee when they traded Josh Hader. I think the closer is the one guy you could trade and still survive, and just cross your fingers. The next man up in the ninth inning can give you 2 months or 6 weeks, and you can somehow compete. I think you can do that trading a closer. I don't know if you could trade Stephen Kwan. Trade a Gold Glove caliber outfielder who leads off, who hits 300, who doesn't strike out. I don't know. You can't just replace him. If it's easier, it's easier said than done. I think closers, there's that chance someone could step up. So, yeah, I think it's telling what they do. But if they trade Clase, I don't think they're necessarily waving the white flag. If they trade Kwan or one of their major hitters in the middle of that lineup, that's a different story.
I want to take us back to Minnesota. You said they're interesting. I agree. I mean, there are a lot of names, some guys that are going to hit free agency after this year, like a Willie Castro, Harrison Bader, but then there are the big boys, Joe Ryan, Griffin Jacks, Yon Duran. You want to give us any like percentage chance that you think any of those guys actually go? I feel like sometimes these teams will bring up these names. They'll listen. They kind of get the evaluation of where everyone thinks they're at. And it's no secret the Twins sometimes are difficult to deal with. Not in that they're not nice guys. They're super Midwest nice, but they ask a lot, and deservedly so. So can someone actually pry these guys, or are these just names we're bringing up because they're falling off?
Yeah, it's a really good question. The Twins every year, I feel like, get described as one of the most talented teams in baseball, and yet we don't see it in the standings, and that's with Buxton healthy. I get it, when he's not healthy, they're not very good. But this year they've been more healthy than most, and they're still not very good. They're very streaky, or they have been over the last couple of years at least. So my point is, I think they should change up the dynamic there. Obviously, the expiring contracts. I'm not the biggest Chris Paddock guy. He doesn't miss bats, and Castro could definitely help. Christian Vasquez could probably help, and most catchers that are are veterans can. There's a few other free agents to beat, but you're right. The question is the closer Duran and a guy like Joe Ryan for sure. I'm going to say the answer is there's a chance. There's a percentage chance one of those good cost control players could move to change up the dynamic. I'll take the Cubs, for example. The Cubs are at a good spot. Their farm system is performing at the AAA level and maybe even at AA right now. Their top prospect, Owen Casey, he's an outfielder, the only guy left from the Yu Darvish trade 5 years ago. He's not made his debut yet. He's playing his best baseball right now. The Cubs have 3 or 4 young hitters in their minor leagues that I would think some teams from Kansas City to Pittsburgh, maybe even Minnesota, would covet. These are some hitting, deficient teams that we're talking about. Maybe not as much with Minnesota, but they are, at times, depending on who's in that lineup and who's hurt. So I think the Cubs match up with a bunch of these teams that need hitters and have some good pitching. Pirates with Mitch Keller, Joe Ryan, and I'm talking about guys that have more than just 2 months left on their deals or are still going through the arbitration system. So I think there's a match for the Twins with a bunch of teams, and the Cubs could be one of them.
You know about the best place to buy, sell, trade, or look for that special card in your world. It's called Arena Club, and Eric Kratz just went through a little slab pack experience, and you went big. You went for the Ruby pack.
I love it. I love clicking on the Ruby pack and knowing that I'm going to open something that is going to be epic. I got a Cal Ripken Jr. autographed 1/42. I'm keeping it right now, but I would love to have it in my hand, so I might even have them send it to me. Already graded, everything taken care of for me.
That's right. You want to hang it up and stare at it all day, go for it. But if you're in there to get something else or to sell it away, you can do that. They've got the buyback program, or you can put it on the marketplace yourself. Tons of options. This is where the best cards live. It's arenaclub.com/foul and use the code FOUL for 20% off your first slab pack, or if you'd like to purchase a card, 20% off your first card purchase. Again, arenaclub.com/FOUL. Use code FOUL.
Milwaukee. We're getting to the point now where it's ridiculous that everybody doesn't pick Milwaukee to be where they are right now. Even 3 weeks ago, nobody would have said Milwaukee will have the best record in baseball, yet they do. Is this finally the year Mark Attanasio gets off his wallet at the trade deadline and makes a move for what they need? And what is that?
Yeah, I'd be a little surprised if it was, because like the Cubs, they're at 96, 97, 98% chance to make the playoffs. Okay. And then we know it's a roll of dice. However, they've had a bunch of rolls at the dice. And this is why we're still seeing the big market teams usually win the World Series, because it takes 3 to 4 rounds of slugging to do it. Pitching and defense and speed get you a little bit. You still need to slug in the playoffs. And that's one thing that maybe the Brewers don't have enough of. So, man, Suarez would be a perfect fit there. Maybe it is, because they've seen that ceiling. They've hit that ceiling so many times in the postseason. It's time to break through, and you do that with sluggers. But I will tell you, I just want to say, you guys were players. Like, how impressive was that run out of the All-Star break? I mean, the Boston Red Sox won 10 in a row, hit the break. It all changed, right? They came to Chicago, lost a series, struggling a little bit on the road here. Okay, it was a reset. The Brewers are on a win streak. All-Star break. Everybody scatters. They go out to L.A. to start, of all places, sweep the Dodgers, practically sweep the Mariners. Not an easy place to play. Lose a 1-0 game. And even after that 1-0 game, I thought, okay, let down for that road finale, right? You lost the win streaks. They didn't have any letdown. Just an amazing, amazing run since Memorial Day for the Brewers. Those fans do deserve a big trade deadline acquisition. I think they'll make moves. I don't know if they'll make that big move.
Is there a sense that the NL Central is a division that will not allow you to make big moves because they're all kind of jumbled around and they go, well, it doesn't matter. What did you say? 97, 98% to make the playoffs? And the NL Central says, oh, that's okay. We don't need to. But we're hearing rumors about the Reds possibly having a reunion with Eugenio Suarez. The Reds are, to me, and maybe you can tell me if I'm wrong, the wild card in this whole thing. The Cubs were the best for the whole season. Now the Brewers are, and the Reds are just lurking, and they're not afraid to make some dumb moves financially. Is that what it's going to take to get something done for them?
Yeah, I mean, this is no secret, but I've heard Suarez loved his time there. He's liked his time in all his stops. So if there was a reunion in Seattle or Cincinnati, Suarez would not be upset with that as at all. He's such a fun-loving guy. He fits into any locker room. Yeah, the Reds are interesting. The waiting in the wings, have the best rotation in the division. I think we'd all agree with that. Offense, a little suspect. Suarez, again, another fit. Remains to be seen if they'd make that big move. But I almost feel like when people ask me about the Rangers leading to the deadline, you think Bruce Bochy and Terry Francona have time to reset and let's go young again and things like that? No. And you see the Rangers actually playing some good baseball. I think the Reds are going to do everything they can to add and make that push. The worst thing, here's your hope if you're a fan of one of these teams. You hope your owner doesn't know about Fangraphs, because if you go to Fangraphs probabilities and you're at 97% making it now, why should I spend money and assets to get to 98%? But of course, it's not just about making it. It's about doing some damage in October as well. Whoever's at 97% now to make the postseason, I guarantee you, is no better than 10% to win it all. So, the Cubs in 16 is one of the best examples of really pushing your chips all in. They traded their top prospect, Gleyber Torres, for Aroldis Chapman, and it worked out pretty well. Teams do not do those sort of things these days. So I'm with you guys. Even if it improves your percentage is a little bit, go for it. Let's go. Next season is not promised to anybody. So I love to see the Reds do something dramatic like that.
I would agree with you to the fullest extent. I think they have to. They haven't really done that much in recent years. They usually stay back and hopefully things work out for themselves, and then they have some injuries. But I want to go to another team in the NL Central, the St. Louis Cardinals. They lost 2 out of 3 from the Rockies this past couple of days. We were talking about, it just depends on what they kind of do against the Rockies. That might not have been the final straw, but where do you see this team going? Are they going to be sellers pretty soon here?
I think they're going to try. I mean, they've got to go to these guys and ask if they want to be traded. Michaelis, Arenado, Sonny Gray. I mean, the big prize would be Ryan Helsley not having the same season he did a year ago, but still very, very valuable to pair with your current closer, whoever that is. So the telltale sign is always, to me, the closer. Like, that's the first guy to go. Because, again, you could sort of survive it if you want to try to compete. But I imagine they're going to go to all their guys with no trade clauses. They already said goodbye to Fetty. It's crumbling in St. Louis. Not surprising. It was kind of tenuous the whole way. I give them tons of credit for playing as well as they did, but now they're playing poorly at exactly the worst time. I'd be surprised if they didn't sell a little bit, subtract at least a little bit, and then try to still compete with their young players. That's the one thing they're going to do, continue to give runway to their young players. So I would suspect Helsley's going to be out in the market, and then they'll go to the guys with no trade clauses and see who wants to be moved.